to be on camera, then please do turn that off now. We'll start recording. We've got two speakers today, plus Adam's welcome and introduction. So if you've got any questions, if you can pop them in the chat, that would be great, and we can pick them up after each speaker. So hopefully everyone's getting on okay at home. Bit of good news, although as Adam just reminded me, then slight bad news on the vaccine today. So I'm not sure whether that's a positive or a negative at the moment, but we're going to go with the positive. The rollout's going really well. Obviously, we've got the planned release from lockdown. So I suppose I just wanted to mention those two. They're massive things, aren't they, that have happened in 2021. And just, I suppose, to put them into context of this group, you know, it's about looking forward, it's about looking ahead, it's about looking for those new opportunities and maybe help on overcoming some of the challenges that we've had or that we might face in the future. So I'm really looking forward, and thank you for your time to our two speakers today, to Mark and to Anne, who I'll introduce as they start speaking. And before we start, just a few chamber updates from me, just three for me. Firstly, if you've been on any sessions recently, you'll know we keep reminding you about the West Midlands Expo, which is next week, all of next week, so Monday to Friday. Sponsored by Hewitt Recruitment, so thank you to Laura, who I can see there today, for that. And it's in association with the 5 chambers in the West Midlands, so we're really excited to be working regionally with them. And I'll ask Hayley to pop in the chat a link to register as a visitor. You do need to register to be a visitor. It's a very quick process, but it would be really great if you would come along anytime over those 5 days and support your fellow members, maybe have a look around some of their stands. My second point is that we were just talking about this earlier when we logged on a little bit earlier about people's feelings about coming back to face-to-face events. So we've got a short survey for people to complete on that. We'll pop that in the chat too. If you've got 30 seconds, give us your time just to let us know how you feel about coming back to face-to-face, whether you'd rather it sooner or later. Do you have any maybe large corporate or global restrictions that would stop you doing that? Or, you know, are you a smaller company in charge of your own destiny and you've got a view on whether you'd like to come back or not? So please share that with us. And finally, this one is unfortunately just for Worcestershire businesses and those who have employees, so a slight eligibility criteria then. But we work in partnership with the County Council and other partners on a programme called Worcestershire Works Well. And we're trying to spread the news a little bit more about that programme and that framework, as obviously we all know health is so important on the agenda at the moment and will be going forward. So we've got an event on the 21st of April where we're going to go through the Worcestershire Works Well programme in a little bit more detail. So if anybody wants to come along to that, again, please do let Hayley or I know after and we'll get you booked on. So that's me. Without further ado, I will firstly introduce you to Adam Flynn, Marketing Director at EBC Group. Adam.
Thank you, Sharon. You've just promoted me there, so thank you for that.
I think I promoted you last time.
You
so
did.
You might as well stick to it now.
Okay, Marketing Director. Make me owner next time. That's fine. Just don't tell Richard. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming along to the Growth Forum. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting again, and thank you to our speakers this morning, Mark and Anne. Really looking forward to hearing what they've got to say. We seem to keep doing these forums at different stages of lockdown, and I think the last one we did was in January. So we were right at the start of, you know, what was another lockdown, and nobody was quite sure what was gonna happen. I guess we're still there, but I'm feeling, and hopefully the country and businesses are feeling a bit more optimistic. It does feel like we've got a plan ahead and at least some light at the end of the tunnel. So I think we were discussing before the vaccine announcement, there are going to be ups and downs along the way, but I think businesses now are hopefully looking towards the future rather than sort of battening down the hatches and trying to survive. And we're definitely finding that with our clients. So we are, for anybody that doesn't know us, we're an IT managed service provider. So we work with SMEs to help them with their workplace technology. And we're finding now that a lot of businesses are looking to the future, medium and, well, short, medium and long term, really, to think about what's changed during lockdown and how technology is going to fit in with the future, whether that's, you know, how they're meeting people, be it via video conferencing, whether their workers are going to be working from home, whether the IT support provision they've got has worked for them during lockdown. All of those sorts of things. And I think we did the survey, the employment survey, which showed a number of things on remote working, including people had found it was beneficial. They were planning different technology for the future. And alongside the Chamber's manifesto, which shows how important technology is to businesses, you know, it's high on the agenda. That might mean different things to different people, but I think we're definitely finding people are now planning for that future and the technology. And I was pointing in the wrong direction on these. My orange background, we're launching a campaign at the moment about is your technology, is your IT after lockdown, post lockdown, is it ready? Is it what you need? And we're offering free IT audits. So it's a little plug from me. We're offering free IT audits to review people's technology, whether that's, you know, did their IT support work over lockdown? Were they able to collaborate with each other and with other businesses going forward? Is that something they want to do? Was there connectivity and Wi-Fi? Was that good enough? Cybersecurity, there was another big cybersecurity story hit the headlines last week, which I don't know whether people saw, about Microsoft Exchange. So cybersecurity, ever so, you know, more important than it's ever been, really, and especially with people working in different places. So small plug from me on what we're doing in terms of a campaign. We're at the expo, the virtual expo next week, so looking forward to meeting people virtually. And yeah, that's it from me. Looking forward to hearing from Mark and Anne, so thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, and don't be ashamed about the plug as a free IT audit. I think that's amazing. I really do. So anyone who wants to take that up, please contact us or contact Adam. I think that would be really useful. As you said, it really does mean different things to different people. And I know, you know, with our company, we go through different phases about which part of our technology we need to update and upgrade. So thanks so much for that, Adam, and for your introduction. So without further ado, I will hand over to Mark Martin, who I definitely know is a director, so I've got that right, a director at One Creative Environments. Mark, thank you very much for joining us, and I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I scared Sharon earlier because I've got a few PowerPoint slides, but don't worry, I'm gonna rattle through them, and then if you want a copy of those slides, I'm happy to share those. May as well go straight onto the screen. I hope the technology works. Can you all see that? Yep. Good. Okay. So the title was Virtual Growth Forum, and virtual, I guess, because of the way we're meeting, and then growth because that's where we all start to need to be thinking about now. Let's just, okay. So I like this quote. It's an optimistic quote in my mind. I had to quickly read about it last night and find the context of it. But I think we're at that stage now. It's a bit strange. Different businesses have been affected in different ways over the last year. We've all been affected. Some are still in lockdown. Some are sort of trying to look to the future, as Adam said. And we're in that process as well. So what I wanted to try and do was give you an overview of our company, my company, One Creative Environments, some of the lessons and experiences we've gone through over the last 5 years. We did a management buyout, or I did a management buyout about 6 years ago, and I'll explain that process, and I'll explain how we then started to do what are the standard things of you know, having a mission statement and a vision and targets and how we went around about achieving those aims. But I thought I'd just give you the sort of a process that we did. Now, for those who don't know One Creative Environments, we're a multidisciplinary design firm based in Worcestershire, but with a London and Birmingham satellite office too. We are, and when I talk to you about how we formed, then you'll understand why we're all the disciplines that you need to deliver a building, from the master planning, the architecture, through to civil structural engineering. Building services is sometimes called mechanical electrical engineering, or MEP, and we have that in-house as well. But I'll explain the journey. What I'm trying to show to you today is how we've ended up being a growth company and the foundations that made us get there. So we've actually been around for 45 years. Most people didn't know us. I'm a Londoner who'd never heard of a company called Pant & Sargent, who started in 1975. And to be honest with you, they were quite anonymous for a long time. I looked at their history. I'll be honest, I couldn't find anything remarkable. That sounds terrible. I think they were a safe pair of hands as an architecture firm. I think they delivered good, safe, you know, secure buildings and you know, functional buildings. But there wasn't much there when I look back over the decades of what was produced. And then around 1998, there was a moment of luck, I guess, and we might be all in our businesses coming across this soon, where the architect firm had designed a doctor's surgery, and they went to pitch to do another doctor's surgery, and the developer failed to turn up. And the architect, Barry Panton at the time, said, "I can be your developer as well as your architect." All the time he's thinking, "I'm tired of winning work or trying to find clients to give me work. If I become a developer, I'll be able to give myself my own work." And that was his vision. And then on that journey, they started to become very successful. And I don't have my mouse here, so you can sort of see different bits were coming through. So after the architecture, a third of the cost of a building will be the mechanical and electrical engineering part of the building. So we bought a company, and that plugged in, and that allowed the development firm, which would also form, to start to sort of get shovel ready on schemes quicker. They then looked at structural engineering and then civil engineering, and actually the projects were getting quite big around 2008. They were no longer an architecture firm, so they couldn't call themselves Pant & Sargent anymore. And then they basically changed to One Creative Environments about 6 months before I joined. My wife's from Worcestershire, and actually Halcro had headhunted me in Atkins, and I just saw this company called One Creative Environments at the time, knew nothing about them, turned up. They seemed to be very successful from what I could tell at the time, and they had a good sort of order book. So I joined in 2008. These are some of the projects. You'll hear about health and well-being. If you're stressed and you look at a tree for 4 seconds, obviously we can measure stress. Believe it or not, your stress level will be reduced. If you introduce art, and we've got in this Hodge Hill in Birmingham, we have dandelion sculptures and dandelion sort of theme running through from seeds outside. And that again can help people relax. It's about reducing people's stress and getting them in a good place before they go into the building. Nowadays, actually, you're more likely to have exercise bikes outside the primary care centre as much as art, because the message is we'd rather you didn't come into the building at all. Other projects that we worked on as part of that development firm was the Birmingham Dental Hospital and School of Dentistry. Interesting project. It'd been on the cards for about 18 years, and they've been trying to do a PFI project on it. And it was about to lose, they were about to leave Birmingham and go to London. So there would be no School of Dentistry in the Midlands if that happened. We got called in and found sites, helped the development, and actually delivered it in 5 years, and the Queen opened it, and it's been a tremendous success. But all these projects were very much healthcare. When I arrived, I've been used to winning work from a lot of clients, and I was quite surprised that we only seemed to have one client, which was Prime, and one market, which was healthcare. I should have done my research a bit better coming in as a director, but I knew that it wasn't going to work in the long term if we didn't diversify and start to have other clients. What you've seen on the corner here is the Panton Sargent logo, and that's is a typical architect logo, I'd say, from the 1970s and 80s, and that was still going until 2007. Interestingly enough, when they went through a branding exercise just before I arrived, they were trying to explain what they were, and in my industry, you'll find that a lot of people don't put their head above the parapet. They live in their silos, they deliver work, and there was a thing called the Egan report, which talked about how inefficient the construction industry is. And so you get this sort of chaos going on, and the client doesn't know, because I'll be honest with you, they don't tell the client, or they didn't tell the client. When we were trying to explain what we were, one of the chaps in the office was doing a sort of circle. It's all about working in an integrated and collaborative way, which is where the circles came from, and then where the name One came from. Now, one of the mistakes that happened, or was it deliberate, I don't know, it was before my time, is that there was no relationship between Panton Sargent and One. So most people who had worked with Panton Sargent for the last 20, 30 years thought the company had just gone into receivership and disappeared. I think it was deliberate with hindsight now, because Prime, which was a development firm, actually wanted the resource of One to be working purely on the healthcare projects that it was recruiting. I was oblivious to all that, by the way. I arrived, I've been asked to grow and develop a team, and I started winning work in lots of different sectors. But with hindsight now, I understand why Prime did that. When we were looking at why do people work with One, we sent some a marketing team out there to sort of talk to our clients and find out the emotional and the rational drivers. And what we got was people liked the way we were, this 360 thinking, because we'd come from a development firm. They liked that idea that we could see the end goal for that particular client. They liked our knowledge on costs. We always meet the budget of a project, and they liked the fact that we were very proactive in problem solving compared to our competitors. And this was our brand footprint, basically. Now the problem, actually, if we just go back for a second, the problem with the One logo is our actual name is One Creative Environments, and no one could find us, and no one could remember us. And some people called us One Limited, some people called us OCE, some people, it was a real bit of a mishmash. And I was conscious that our company name was different to our logo. The management buyout happened in 2014, really, officially beginning of 2015. And that came about because Prime, we're working with Prime, we'd actually been very, very successful. We got to a portfolio worth about 1.3 billion. And that portfolio was then merged with a company called Primary Healthcare Properties on the stock exchange. So one thing when we were looking at listing as a company, no one could understand why the design firm was part of the development firm. Prime got it, One got it. You had the board of directors on Prime was pretty much the same board of directors in One. But the money people didn't get it. They like things to be kept simple, I think. So the seed was sown about separating the companies, and basically I was asked with a number of other directors to do a management buy. Would I buy the company back in 2014? The dental hospital was coming to an end, and there was a chance actually that One could disappear. The managing director was retiring. Anyway, we bought the company, and we went on this evolution of how do we, grow the company? What do we want the company to represent? And this is why we did this sort of brand footprint. Where we are in 21 is we're much more confident now. I think 2015, I definitely had a scary moment or two with cash flow, as most of you might know, and as a business owner. And yeah, it was great, but we got through it. And actually, in the last 2 or 3 months, we turned quite a major profit. And we've never made anyone redundant. We didn't furlough anyone recently. We've actually employed 4 or 5 people in the last 6, 7 months. So we're still doing very well, but we're changing the way we do things. In terms of the brand development, I really struggled. We didn't want to lose the circles because we didn't want to make the Panton Sargent mistake. We wanted people to know that we were still around. The One actually putting it in the centre is more appropriate. It's saying that you've got the rings of all the disciplines working together, and One is the end result for the client. We had the problem with creative environments, and it's a mouthful. No one, no one ever says it properly to us anyway. And if I'm ever on TV or radio, the first thing they do is say, can we just call you One? So what we did was we decided that the creative environments become a strapline. So creative environments in architecture, or creative environments in healthcare, creative environments in residential, that's what our strapline is now. But it does mean that our full name now gets on all our branding. So that's the bit on branding. Some of this is a little bit disjointed, but I then thought, well, what else has helped us become a success over the last 6 years or so? And really early on, in the first 6 months, I was still trying to work out my fellow directors as well. I was trying to work out, I was the only one that had brought work into the company up until 2014. And I was thinking, I don't know, if I'm going to put all my emotion into this, I need to know that I've got a good team around me. So we started looking at our 5-year strategy. And this is where you'll all do this as well. And I'm just saying, right now is a good time if you're looking at lockdown leaving, and Adam was talking about it, getting your systems in place. Just do those things. What is your 5-year growth plan? And those achieving the most significant growth are those that plan for it. There's no surprise there. As I say, I won't read it all because you can have these slides if you want. We created a mission statement, which is very much what we did, and this is it: to offer a collaborative, multidisciplinary, innovative, and tailored design service using the latest technology to provide creative buildings and environments in a sustainable way. We're not just an architecture firm; we're a landscape architecture firm, we're a civil engineering firm. So it's very important the word environment was in there, and we weren't sort of typecast on just doing buildings. Again, I'd like you to all think, because we're in a growth forum, think about your business. What is your mission statement? Do you know it? Remind yourself, is it still relevant? The vision is very much looking at where you're going. And I know I'm saying this to people who run businesses and that, but it's good to remind yourself. I'm a real believer in vision statements. I think I've used it to pull the 40 or 50 staff here together, because when I've got a project, I say, is this the right project? Is this appropriate to what we're trying to do as a company? This was a Microsoft, Bill Gates at the time, he said, I want a computer on every desk and in every home. That was his vision back in the 1980s. And it probably sounded quite crazy to people, but you talk to Adam now, and it's not a computer now, it's a whole load of devices that people want around them. That was their vision. Our vision was a world-class company known for creating joyful and inspirational environments. That's what I said to the people. I'd come from London, I'd worked on some amazing projects around the world. I came to Worcester, and I have to be honest, I looked at the people in front of me and I thought, are they going to share this vision with me or not? And they did. This came through collaboration. It wasn't my words. But as Sharon will remember, there was a lot of stuff that had world class in it about 5 years ago. It's sort of gone off, and we're going to have to come up with a new vision. But what world class did was it set the ambition of the company. I sat there with the guys and I said, well, what is world class? And they went, don't know. I said, well, should we have a London office? And they said, yeah, of course we should. So I opened up a London office, and that meant that clients were no longer ringing us up saying, would you come to a meeting in London? They just actually thought we would. They never knew that we were jumping on a train and traveling 2 hours down to get there. It was just a way of showing that we were working nationally. The other interesting thing which helped with COVID, actually, in a random way, was international work. I said, if you're world class, you've got to do international work. So we actually I started bidding for, I don't think anyone believed me I'd win any work, and I did. And actually one of the jobs we won is in the Falklands, 8,000 miles away. I flew out there. We've actually had over £1 million worth of fee from the Falkland Island government now, and we've done 8 projects for them. Once they trust you, they keep on coming back to you. And the reason why it had a benefit to COVID is, of course, I can't go to site every week. I have to learn all those things of using Skype at the time and video conferencing calls and meeting them and sharing drawings. And those sort of things, and document management, and we were doing all that 3 or 4 years ago. So when lockdown happened, we actually already were in a good place. We knew how to do, the technology would work, and most people had experienced it. The other thing I'd say I'm really pleased about is I looked at my staff, and I think I was the only person who'd worked abroad. Maybe 1 or 2 had done a job in Gibraltar, but I was the only one that really worked abroad. Now 20% of my staff have actually travelled abroad and worked on a project abroad. Last month, we were the only company in the UK, and there was 100 international entrants, and we were the only company to be shortlisted from the UK, and we came second on a project in Iraq. I'm not too sure if I want to collect the award in Iraq, but that is in discussion at the moment. But we are getting well known internationally. The other thing in terms of growth, we early on wrote down what we were trying to achieve in terms of targets, markets, competitors, technology, staff numbers, staff retention, awards, the training of staff, and those objectives we've set every year. So back in 2015, I had a blueprint for 2020 and beyond. The only problem I had was actually we achieved it in 2.5 years. So my 5-year plan became a 2.5-year plan, but we've carried that on now. I put this slide in because we had a facilitator come in and sort of tell us what we should be looking for. And this was an example of what he showed us. So again, what's your turnover, what's your profit, what's your staff numbers, those sort of elements that you might be going for. What we've achieved in our growth over the last 5-6 years is we've diversified now into commercial, leisure, residential, every sort of element, listed buildings. When I came into the company, and it was I was naive, I'll be honest with you, in 2008, I didn't know that 90 to 100% of our work was coming from prime. I should have, because I came in at a director level, but I just saw the Ferraris outside, and I saw the building was owned by the company, and I just saw that element of it, and job security. But now we still have a good relationship with prime, but they're about 10% of our turnover. We still have healthcare as a major sector, but it's around 20-25%. Residential and commercial, industrial, hotels and leisure are equal to that. And technology, BIM, building information modeling and innovation. We're very much, and we've created a new sector called digital estates, which we're now working on as we move forward. But we've been very, very successful in awards and achieving those targets. So a little summary of those parts of our business. We now work over 8,000 miles. We've delivered over, and one of the things that attracted me to the company is we build things. So we've delivered over 1.3 billion of property in the UK, about 500 million in the Midlands. We have over 45 staff. Some of the images you're starting to see is what we call a digital twin, and we're very much moving more into technology. I'm very much interested in robotics. I believe that architecture will move into construction, and we'll be doing that. My colleagues we've just employed a facilities manager, which I call it in my world REBA stage 7, where you're looking at the building for its long term, and we're looking now at how we create almost a digital asset of the existing building. Bird Box in Bromsgrove was one of our projects. Really liked it. It's a lockdown project. It's one where a developer failed to secure development on the site. The council very much wanted to put a car park on the site, and through persuasion, we showed that actually we could, and for a very tight budget, we could turn it into something more attractive and public realm limited for the public. Interestingly enough, we agreed all this in February. We obviously hit a few problems in March last year. When construction workers were allowed back in April, they did and delivered it. They did have a few people looking at them, but we did deliver it. And then when lockdown lifted, all the local traders started using it as breakout space because the shops were very small. I'm not going to say any more, but we're now looking at the future as a business. So technology, the aging society, and these are modular buildings, believe it or not, and looking at carbon, reducing carbon and energy consumption. So in summary, we had a 5-year plan. I suggest people, if they haven't got one, have one. We've gone through our mission and our vision, and we're redeveloping those right now. The company will be a different company in 5 years' time. I already know that. And it's great that we've also been shortlisted on Hereford and Worcestershire Chamber of Commerce entrance, and we'll be looking at that again in the future. That is me. Thank you.
Mark, thank you so much. That's really inspirational, and I've probably got about 100 questions to ask you myself, but I will open the floor up for everybody else instead. I think you've covered so many topics of a growing business, as you say, from diversification to cash flow to more sales and strategy, and I'm really interested in your future projects as well, especially around sustainability and some of those. So maybe we'll chat on that later. And great that you're entering the awards. One really quick thing I'll mention is, would you think about entering the Queen's Awards too? Leave that one with you.
I'll be honest with you, we've looked at it, and we will when we're in the right place. I think we just need a little bit more international work, I think, to secure it. We would love to get a Queen's Award.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, really great presentation. Thank you again for your time. Do you want to stop sharing your screen, Mark, and I can see everyone? And I mean, rather than put them in the chat, if anyone's got any burning questions for Mark, obviously you can follow up and have copies of the slides. Do you want to just come off mute and ask it yourselves?
Mark, that was as Sharon said, really inspirational. I think it was really good. I think when companies grow, sometimes they grow too fast and they can't cope with everything that's going on. And I think your honesty in things that you picked up and have gone wrong, I think is great, because I know I've made mistakes in my long career. So I think that's good. But I think I've heard so many companies that have grown fast and then they've failed because they can't control it or they can't manage it. And I think, was that the case a little bit with the international work, or how did you manage that? Because that must have been difficult. You've got people building stuff that you're not on site, basically.
To be honest, the international work was okay. I think where the growth problem comes is the quality of staff. It always is making sure as you grow that, you know, trying to do organic. I'll give you an example, because I'm being honest here. We bought the MEP company. And when we got it, and this was before my time, and this is off the record in a way, but we realised it was a good front man.
It's being recorded, Mark.
Oh, well, I'll say it in a different way then. There was a good front man.
Different way, being recorded.
Oh, you know, thank you, John, for the reminder. As soon as I said that, I remembered. So I'm going to say it in a different way then. We found there were problems with buying a company and merging it with us. We found that the staff behind the good front man probably didn't have the training that we expected them to have. And the quality of service probably wasn't where we as a company had a reputation for. So we ended up putting them all through university, and we were caught out a little bit actually, because tuition fees came in just as we had them all in there. So we didn't have our contracts correctly, you know, in the manner. So what happened was they all got their degrees, and then they all got headhunted. And I know there's some people in that industry, and that cost us tens of thousands of pounds in having trained these people up to watch them leave. Now we're a little bit shrewder on that move now, but that was one problem we've had. And I think, and then when we brought in structures, we didn't do that. We brought in and our technique has been to grow organically now. So we bring in somebody who's got a lot of experience in the industry, and then they employ a team around them, and we build the team organically. So that's how we've avoided that situation. Having said that, right now we're growing again, and we're employing people without ever meeting them, which is a problem, you know, we've all experienced at the moment. We're trusting them, and actually I've got a chap I employed actually last January, and he said to me yesterday his anniversary of working at home was yesterday. He's had a year working remotely, and I know that he would be a better, more rounded individual if he'd been in the office with his team around him. He would have worked out more quickly what we did and the quality of the work we do. So it's sort of, that's our challenge actually. Just it's more the skills of the staff and making sure that they're at the level that, you know, we expect and our reputation has created.
Yeah, and I asked that because I've had about 3 or 4 companies recently that have come to me that they've grown and they just couldn't control the quality of the work, and they're forever chasing their tail, which is, you know, a challenge. That's why I asked the question as background.
Thank you, Sorry, can I just jump in, Mark?
Yeah.
Mark, can I just jump in before you answer? Thank you so much. I just wanted to leave some time
Sure.
to hear from our second speaker. Thanks for your question and thanks for your honest answer, Mark, too. Just wanted to leave enough time to introduce Anne Thomas, who's a business growth specialist from Action Coach. And I'm sure probably people and leadership is a part of the things that she'll cover too. So it might give us a chance to explore that a bit further. Thank you very much. And I'll hand over to Anne.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Hi, guys. I'm just going to start my presentation here on my shared screen and then talk you through that exactly what you've just talked about there. So can you see my screen okay? Does it say 6 steps to massive results? Yay. Right, let's get this set up. Okay. So yes, thank you. I'm Anne Thomas from Action Coach in Worcestershire. And it's kind of great to see so many of you guys here at this growth forum, because it's growth that I'm going to talk to you about today. My background is in business, and I've been consulting for maybe 5 years, and now I'm a coach for Action Coach covering the Worcestershire area. So I'm going to touch on 6 steps to massive results in your business. And I'm going to particularly cover the foundations of this. And in actual fact, it will pick up on a couple of the things that Mark just covered there. So it's about strengthening the foundations for your growth. So is that okay with everyone? Super. And I'm going to get you to maybe make a couple of notes as we're going along, because I'd really like you to take some takeouts from this. And also, we're going to do a little bit of interactivity, if I can suss out how to get the chat box working as well. So yeah, okay, let's see how this goes. Okay, so this is us in Evesham. We cover Evesham, Worcestershire, Stratford regions. We are business coaches. We're part of a massive global coaching company, but this is our section, and we're also partnered with a Stoke, what do they call it? A Stoke group, if you like, of action coaches too. And also we have this fantastic team around us. So Gary founded Action Coach here, and that's following his 30 years of growing businesses. And me, I co-founded my first business 18 years ago at the age of 26, so do the maths, whilst I was pregnant. So you know how it is, you get pregnant, you start a business, the usual stuff. I grew this from a 2.5 person startup to an international tech company over those 12 years following, delivering mobile web, apps and marketing services with clients such as Microsoft and Procter & Gamble, EA, MTV, all the big guys, and actually a whole host of large agencies and even small digital marketing agencies. So for me, I really know the growth journey extremely well, from the very kind of startup stages all the way through to, well, quite along the way of the journey of success, but I've also experienced a lot of the pains of that as well. So for me, it's this mission of mine is I want to help a lot of businesses through that journey, and so they don't hit as many of the pain points that I did, because, you know, we took this fantastic opportunity and grew a great business, but totally unprepared and didn't look at it in a systematic way. And I actually think looking at it systematically will actually help put in solid foundations into your businesses. And I promise you there'll be something you take away from today. Even if you think, I know everything about my business, I know everything there is to know about business, there is always something that you may not be doing or you haven't been doing for a while. So let's move on. So are we okay to ask people? I'm going to just say, you want you? I'm going to get you to shout out what you feel is a definition of a real business. So unmute yourself and shout out anything that you feel is defines what a real business is.
Money makes sales
Yes.
and
Yes.
profits.
Yes. What else?
Financially viable.
Yes.
Respected.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. Yes. So all of those are definitely part of what makes a successful business. We define this as a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. Kind of think about that for a moment. And we do this, we kind of take you on this journey through the Action Coach model of 6 stages, and we call this our 6 steps program towards massive results. And the 6 steps program kind of, it says it's steps, but from my way of looking at it is it's not specific steps. It's more of a, have you got all of these things in place, and how much can you revisit each part of this to keep growing? So it starts in the foundations with mastery, and mastery is critical to growing the business from. And it's interesting that a number of the things that Mark touched on are in mastery. So it's formed of 4 key pillars, and those are destination mastery. Do we know where we're going, both personally and in our businesses? Time mastery. Is everyone in the business making the best use of their time, doing the highest value activities for the majority of their time? Delivery mastery. Is your customer experience spot on? Is it quality, on time, every time? Your financial mastery. Yes, the P&L and the balance sheet, but also managing the key indicators and measuring those and constantly improving your financial performance. So the idea of mastery is that it eliminates chaos in the business. But if you're starting out, it actually forms some very solid foundations. I'm going to touch on that in a minute in more detail, and I'm going to get you to think about how that applies to your business. So next is niche. So niche is the marketing, the kind of starting to put some energy into business in order to create a commercial, profitable business. And it covers your marketing, it covers your, putting in the systems, starting to put in the systems in place for testing and measuring all your marketing, and looking for your niche and putting in place your USPs and defining everything. Then beyond that, and niche in essence creates the predictable cash flow, and then beyond that it's leverage. So that is systemizing everything you put in at mastery level and at niche level, systemizing it so that you can start to think about scale up. So you're creating something that works, and that's the commercial, profitable enterprise that works. So then, of course, we're moving up to team, and team is the commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So that's where you've systemized everything, and you've started to take yourself out of the business. Most of your time is working on the growth of the business, and people have taken over all those roles that you and have been doing, or that the team have been doing, but not necessarily efficiently. You've now created systems. And then beyond that is synergy. So that's when, if you think of it in terms of franchising, I'm not saying that everyone should franchise their business, but this is that I've modeled the perfect business, and I can literally pick it up and put it down somewhere else if I want to, or I can walk away from the business entirely and create myself some passive income. So we work with businesses throughout this whole journey, But obviously today I'm just going to touch on some mastery stuff, because I think every business can revisit the foundations and strengthen those. Ultimately, you want to have that that place in time where you are no longer in your business, where your life is about what you want to do, and that may be your business, but it may be in a more, you know, doing all the really exciting stuff that you like to do. So we go back to mastery, and mastery is the engine room of the business, so the foundations. And we're just going to talk on those 4 pillars again, and I'm going to get you to think about how that applies to your business. So the first is destination mastery, and you're going to get these slides, but you need to take some notes if any of this resonates. And I actually feel some of the stuff that Mark said is very applicable here. Destination mastery is about writing your goals up for the next 5, 3, 1 year, 10 year, if it's a 10-year mission you're on. Putting in place your vision, your mission, and your culture. Action Coach's vision is to create walled abundance through business re-education. So it's about taking business leaders like yourself and business owners to go through this journey and picking up those pieces of knowledge that we didn't know. And I can definitely say that, even though I've seen some great successes, some of this stuff at the foundation I didn't have in place. So it's about having your 90-day plan reviewed with the whole team. It's about having a clear description of what your business looks like when it's finished. So whatever that means to you. So that's your destination mastery. Now, I want you to think about how you might score yourself out of 10, and give yourself a score out of 10 for how much you feel you have destination mastery down as one of the foundation pillars. So next is financial mastery, or money mastery. So this is about having your monthly P&L produced, but it's about being able to get your balance sheet at any one time, knowing your cash flow and having that cash flow forecast maintained, knowing your break-even point, understanding your debtors and creditors, managing that as a system, monitoring your profit margins, understanding your KPIs, and planning how to grow based on the data that you're collecting. So collecting data, analyzing data, and then projecting forwards with your financial forecasting. Again, give yourself a score out of 10 for money mastery. And then time mastery. We only have so many days in the week. We only have so many hours in the day. And this is about making best use of that time. So working on the business and not just in it. And that's kind of banded around a bit, working on the business and not in the business. But actually think about that. I think Mark might have touched on it. It is literally about carving out the time so that your energy is focusing on growth and development, looking at the business from outside of the woods and putting in strategies to grow it, rather than just being on the hamster wheel, which is the trap that we often get into if we're not controlling and managing the time that we have. So putting in place a default diary for you and for your team, using SMART goals, leveraging the time that you have, and understanding the most where to put the most value, or rather understanding what time is the most valuable and what activities are the most valuable, and then where best to place your time and help manage and delegate activities to your team. So, and also using daily and weekly goal sheets. And what we do is literally plan the next day, the day before, so that you're fully effective as soon as you wake up in the morning. So again, score yourself out of 10 for time mastery in your business right now. And then the fourth pillar is delivery mastery. This is all about your customers and the quality of supply and product service that you're offering. Is it the highest quality? Do you deliver on time every time? Is your customer service world class? Is it easy to buy from you? Is everything systemized for consistency? And are you continuously improving the relationship? Do you have high quality customer service? And again, score yourself out of 10 for delivery mastery. So, how did you score? I can't find the chat box. Let me just find the chat box. Put it in the chat box and I'll find the chat box. Where's the chat box gone? Anyone want to shout out then their score? Because I can't see the chat box for some strange reason. It's disappeared.
And you've got 33, 32, 27, 34, 36. So anyone from sort of 27 to 36?
Fantastic, guys. I mean, in fact, that's awesome, because the average score we get generally from businesses is 19. And, you know, what you've got there is great. Some things are obviously clearly doing really well. And I'd be interested to get you, actually, I'll get you to think about that in terms of each of those delivery points and your takeaways. What is maybe the one area that you could work on straight away to improve the results? So everything clearly needs constant review, and there's so much room there for improvement. It's actually amazing that you've come out with scores like that. You're obviously super brilliant people in business, and you've got some massive potential also. So there's potential for growth in all of those scores, and that's what I do. I work with businesses as a coach. I work them through that journey. So if your foundations are solid, and it sounds like some of the foundations that you've got are great, then it's about looking at your marketing and improving that. So beyond the mastery is really putting the energy into the business growth as well. So I kind of think of mastery as putting the plug in the bath, and then the niche, the next stage, is turning the tap on and filling up the bath, because you can't fill it up obviously if the plug's out. So that's me. It's been great talking to you, and I'm happy to talk to anyone after this session. I'll leave a potentially a link to what I call a 25-minute virtual coffee with me, and yeah, any questions?
Thanks, Anne. And if you can stop sharing, that's really helpful. I think we've clearly got a room full of superstars, without doubt, if we're getting those scores compared to your usual clients. So I think a round of applause to all of us for that. Amazing, yeah. Obviously you've left your links, that's great. So if anybody does want to work on those strategies for moving forward, they can get in touch too. I think we're out of time. I'm sure Hayley will give me the nod, and I'm really conscious that people have back-to-back Zooms. So can I just take the opportunity to say thank you so much again to Adam for supporting us and sponsoring this forum so we can put them on for everybody, and to Adam, Mark, for your presentation, your real honesty, Mark, and your tips to take away, Anne. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry we're out of time. I can't believe where an hour actually goes. So I just want to say have a nice rest of the day, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and see you at the next one.
Really good to talk
Thank you
to
so much.
Thanks very much.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you all, bye.
Thank you.